take these items and honor everyone's time here today. This meeting of the Columbia 911 Board of Commissioners Board of Directors meeting will come to order. Today's June 30th, 2022. You end up with me as chair kind of by default, in that we have Rob on vacation who's calling in here, and I answered the phone when they said, "Would you chair the meeting?" So it was.
Glad you answered.
And today we're going to have a very abbreviated agenda, in the fact that Mike Fletcher came down with COVID last night, and so he's not here. And
he can hear you, he said, but I don't know why we can't hear him.
Okay, well. Then we can't
That's what
talk
he
about
said,
him
so.
too much, but nonetheless, wish him well and hope that he gets better quickly, because I know how miserable that can be, not from personal experience, but by lots of folks that have. Our roll call today, I'll just quickly go through. Jeff is here, I'm here, Rob's here on the phone, as is Bruce. Is Shelley? I think I see Shelley's iPhone. Is that
Shelley's
our
iPhone.
Shelley? Okay. So we've got the entire board here virtually, besides Jeff and myself. Now's the time on our agenda for public comment. Anyone who'd like to address the board are certainly willing to do so. Do you want them to go to that table, or where's the best place,
Yeah, we do have a
mic-wise?
sign-in over there.
No, there's a microphone at the corner there.
Okay, so
Oh.
can they just do it from their seats? It'll be okay, or?
It should be.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and take public comment from the room, and then we'll also take public comment from those folks on the screen. And anyone that's on Zoom, if you could just go to the chat and identify yourself by name and city of residence, and then we'll know that we'll need to call you up for testimony. So at this time, whoever would like to go first, please.
Henry, I have some pretty lengthy public comment to give, so given that Mr. Fletcher's absent, and it looks, so do we have all of our board members present?
All of our board members are present.
Okay, so I'll leave it up to you. I can either give my public comment now, or I'm willing to wait to do that at the July meeting.
That's entirely up to you, Tyler. I
Okay.
would welcome it either place. Of course,
Okay.
whatever you think's most important to your topic.
So I will go ahead and do it now, and then I can do it again in July if needed. Can the folks? I'm not sure how the microphone situation is set up. Can they hear me online, or is that just for the recording that you guys do internally?
Well, we want
Thank you.
everybody to
Turn that
hear.
microphone
Yeah. Let's just get a sample out there. Rob or Shelley or somebody, Bruce, can you hear Tyler okay?
Henry, it sounds loud and clear.
Okay.
Yep, loud and clear on my end.
All right.
Okay, great. So my public comment might be a little bit over 10 minutes. So if I go past 10, just let me know, and I'll.
Yeah, you have 10 minutes. I'll go ahead and stop you.
Okay,
If it's,
all right, thank you. Good morning, Columbia 911 Board of Directors. For the record, my name is Tyler Miller, and I'm a City Councilor for the City of Scappoose. The Columbia County 911 Communications District is responsible for answering emergency 911 calls and non-emergency calls from our Scappoose community, and radio dispatch related services to our police officers and Scappoose Fire District. I'm here today because I truly care about the safety of our community, the safety of our first responders, and the taxpayers' best interests. I have given testimony and sent emails to this 911 board on multiple occasions over the years, pointing out the inadequacies and hazards created by the current public safety radio system. There's two topics I'd like to cover in my public testimony today. First, I want to comment on the lack of first responder radio coverage in our school buildings throughout the county. I gave testimony on this topic at our last Scappoose City Council meeting on June 20th and expressed my concern with addressing the lack of public safety first responder radio coverage in and around schools with urgency. I specifically cited in my comment the recent events in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children were murdered, along with 2 teachers and several others injured. There are several authorities that explain a legal requirement for in-building coverage for first responder radio systems. For example, International Fire Code, also referred to as IFC 510, as well as Oregon Building Code section 510.1 and 1103. These authorities state that buildings shall have radio coverage for emergency first responders within the building, but based upon existing coverage levels of the public safety communication system at the exterior of the building. Multiple schools in Columbia County have no radio signal at the exterior of the building, which is squarely this agency's responsibility to rectify before a building owner can be required to create coverage inside their building. In late 2021, Columbia 901 Communications District, this agency hired Federal Engineering, a private consulting firm from the East Coast, to evaluate 3-plus-year-old RFIs. In doing so, they also provided what's called coverage mapping for the current existing public safety radio system, I have those coverage maps. When I zoom in on the maps for the areas where schools are located throughout the county, I can very clearly see there is no radio system coverage at these schools, even on the sidewalks, parking lots, and roads adjoining these school buildings. The lack of coverage in and near schools has also been validated by our first responders who rely on the system daily. As you know, and have heard multiple times, our first responders don't even have radio coverage on parts of Highway 30 in our cities or on many of our most traveled county roads, such as Scappoose-Vernonia Highway that connects Scappoose to Vernonia. How do we correct this problem? It could simply mean installing what are called voting receivers at each school, just like the 901 district did at Haven Acres in Claskanai, the courthouse roof in St. Helens, and the Scappoose Police Department building. It may also involve some changes to antennas at existing sites. The radio receivers I'm referencing can connect through a T1 type phone line, a fiber line, or licensed or unlicensed microwave path. Depending on the connection used, this is likely a $10,000 to $15,000 expense per school. At Scappoose High School, for example, we have several cell phone towers, and on one of those towers, the necessary equipment could be installed. And that scenario would address the in-building coverage issue for Scappoose High School, Peterson, and Grant Watt schools, and also increase coverage at multiple miles around the schools with one simple, relatively inexpensive installation. The Columbia 901 Communications District had over millions of dollars specifically earmarked for radio system upgrades for years. The 2021-22 budget the 901 board adopted had $2,283,000 specifically earmarked for radio type upgrades. In the 22-23 fiscal year proposed budget, there's over $3,257,000 earmarked for radio system upgrades. In other words, the radio system coverage shortfalls are not due to a lack of funding. I would love to hear from anyone on this board what they believe is more important than the safety of our children at schools, the safety of our teachers, and other school staff. What would be more important to a 911 agency, a public safety agency, than the safety of children, than taking necessary steps to ensure children, teachers, and other school staff are safe when they are at school? What is more important than ensuring our community as a whole and our first responders are safe and have necessary lifelines to do their job safely and effectively? If this 911 agency doesn't want to pay for or doesn't have the concern or interest in helping fix the public safety radio coverage problems in and around schools, please be candid and say so. Let me know, or let our city manager know. I have 8 compatible radios in my garage and a cabinet I will donate for the 8 radio system channels. I will personally organize raising money to help, with the help of parents and our Scappoose community to get these vital resources installed so our children, our teachers, and our school staff can be safe and know that first responders can communicate when a life-threatening emergency happens at their school. The second issue I'd like to give public testimony on is the planning this 911 agency is doing for a new radio system. For context, we know that even after voters approve funding for a new radio system, it can take around 2 years to get a new radio system installed and operational. As you're all aware, the Scappoose City Manager made a request to this 911 board at the May 26th meeting. The City Manager asked this board to collaborate with the City of Scappoose to have professional engineering and an alternative proposal completed for the next public safety radio system that will help keep our community and first responders safe. The City Manager was asked by Board President Rob Anderson to provide more information for discussion at today's board meeting. In response, the City Manager sent a 5-page letter and an engineering outline to this board on June 21st. I was surprised to see there was no item on the agenda to discuss the city's collaboration request with this 911 board. The City Manager also informed me there's been no reply from this 911 district to City Manager Raines. As you also know, the system that the Executive Director appears to be pushing comes at a price tag likely to exceed $35 million of taxpayer dollars. And that is per your consultant's estimate. That scenario from the consultant only gives first responders about 65% radio signal coverage when 95% coverage is the well-established standard and practice for public safety radio systems nationwide. That would be a marginal improvement, if any improvement at all, from the coverage we have now. The 65% coverage the consultant estimated by joining Clark, our Washington County's radio system, and relying on their radio sites and some added sites in Columbia County places much of the radio system coverage on top of trees and on top of hilltops. If you look closely at the coverage maps, it's not 65% of usable coverage, it's probably closer to 50% or even less. Over $35 million for less than 65% coverage for our first responders to communicate. How can that be okay with anyone, especially this 911 board? I want to remind the 911 board that there has been no actual engineering completed, and yet you have a leader of your organization very obviously pushing towards asking our taxpayers what's probably going to be over $35 million for a system that doesn't even meet first responder needs and has no engineering validation. That makes no logical sense. We have heard Executive Director Fletcher talk about Columbia 901 accepting surplus towers in Washington County. My question is, would you buy a new car and put worn out tires on it? Add to that, no engineering has been completed. This agency has no idea where towers are going to be needed. You have no idea how many towers will actually be needed, and you have no idea, because engineering has not been completed, how tall those towers need to be to give the best coverage to first responders. All of these things come from professional engineering that must be done, and that the city of Scappoose has outlined and is ready to begin at no cost to the 911 district or the city. We also have the Cascadia earthquake event to be concerned about and actually plan for. The radio towers and all the radio equipment, the radio towers and all the radio equipment at the radio sites must be engineered to withstand Cascadia. If they're not, our public safety emergency system will be destroyed during the Cascadia event. Imagine our first responders having no way to communicate and the dispatchers having no way to tell them where help is needed. That is what will happen if you don't have proper engineering completed that includes resiliency requirements that considers Cascadia. These things I mentioned must be engineered professionally. Taking surplus random equipment that the district has to pay for the transportation, disassembly, storage, etc. of that equipment is a waste of employee time and taxpayer dollars, because again, we have no idea if these towers are suitable for our next radio system. Nothing I've heard from this 911 district related to the planning of the new radio system addresses the need for school safety. For example, our schools need to have an emergency direct access to first responders via school emergency radio channel, because we know that cell phone circuits quickly and easily get overloaded when a major emergency occurs. Nothing I've heard addresses radios and system access for public works, emergency operations centers to operate within each city, and other government services that are all going to need to communicate during and after Cascadia and efficiently deliver everyday government services to our public. Where is the planning and thoughtfulness and being prepared to serve our communities when these events happen? I know the city of Scappoose has thought of these considerations and has an engineering team ready to go to address all these aspects and bring a complete, thoughtful proposal forward that is likely to be 30% to 50% less expensive, apples to apples, than what is currently being pushed. The board also owes it to the taxpayers to not just select the most expensive radio system vendor that is known to exist and likely to cost at least 30% more, which equates to millions of taxpayer dollars. I urge this 911 agency to stop what it is doing and let proper engineering and a thorough, thoughtful proposal take place to give the board more information about the best solution, and one that our community and taxpayers can support, and that is more realistic to our Columbia County tax base.
Tyler, your time's up.
Okay,
Thank you.
One way. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Who would like to speak next? I see Megan Greisen has put a note in there that she's here to show support, but no need to comment. Is there anyone online, or has anybody shown up in chat that I can't see that would like to testify?
Hi, this is Christina Stevenson.
Oh, hi. Good morning. Can you give us your name again and your city of residence for the record?
Yes. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Christina Stevenson. I reside in unincorporated Washington County. I am an employment and civil rights attorney, and I practice throughout the state. And I visited with you at your last meeting. Not everyone was able to be here, but before I go back into that testimony, I just kind of want to reorient us here, because, I mean, look, we are living in a time where it feels like we're really divided, right? Our country feels really divided right now, and that is not what we need to continue happening. Look at how many people showed up here today. I don't know how often 911 board meetings are well attended. Maybe they often are, but I think I hope that the board considers is that people here just want to collaborate. You know, how many people want to dig into the details of the 911 board's very important work? I thank you for doing it. It is not easy work. And thank goodness there are people who want to dig into the details with you. This is something that I think should be met in the spirit of collaboration that it is offered in. So I am here to testify in support of the City of Scappoose proposal. You know, from my vantage point, it is imperative that Columbia 911 work with the City of Scappoose in implementing a public safety radio system. You know, as the sole public safety 911 answering point and dispatch center for all public safety agencies based in Columbia County, I know that this district is committed to collaborating closely with the public safety agencies that directly rely on the district. And of course, you know, it's the police officers, the firefighters, the EMTs, the employees that are employed by other government agencies, such as the city, that actually rely on the radio system that you all decide to use. And I know you are equally committed to public safety and the safety of those first responders. And it's so easy, you know, you can just demonstrate that commitment by engaging in the requested collaboration with the City of Scappoose. You know, I've heard that the city has offered to pay for the report. It's going to involve all the relevant stakeholders, answer important questions about the replacement radio system. It seems to me an eminently reasonable proposal that's going to give the district ready access to information directly from those most impacted by the system and its replacement. You know, if our first responders don't have a reliable communication system, the coverage they need, they can't keep the public safe. We all know this. But beyond that, you know, from my vantage point, an unreliable system can also pose liability issues for both the district and the city. So considering it's the duty of the city to protect their workers, including first responders, having a reliable system is a key part of this. And I also want to emphasize a little piece of that I think is an important piece of this puzzle, which is part of having a proper system is to retain and import premises history information from previous systems. And so just to put this in perspective, historical information from 911 calls might capture information about known safety risks on the premises. So that historical information, if that's imported, we can keep our first responders safer by importing that information into the new system. And I don't think that there's really a debate that that is important information. And so I think the question that needs to be asked in the next round of proposals is, you know, tell us, we know it can be done because I've seen a number of vendors who've said they can do it. So let's just price it out. Let's just see what it is. Let's not assume it's going to be too expensive because the lives of our first responders are very important to us. So let's just get the information and then go from there. And you know, as the tragedies and school shootings that keep happening throughout our country, they demonstrate it's imperative there be coverage in and around schools to keep our kids safe. And I anticipate that these sort of safety and liability issues are exactly what is going to be surfaced through a transparent and inclusive process that includes all of the relevant stakeholders in this important work. I thank you for engaging in this work, and I thank you for, you know, your anticipated cooperation in this collaboration. The way I think about it, many hands make light work. So let's have the folks that really want to engage in this issue, let's welcome them to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevenson. Appreciate your comments. I see, is that maybe Carol Sweet was waving her hand? Carol, would you like to testify here today?
Yes, I posted that in the comments.
Okay.
In the chat.
Welcome. Your name and city of residence for the record, please.
Carol Sweet, Scappoose,
Thank
beyond
you.
the city limits.
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to support what Tyler said. I moved up to Scappoose from St. Helens, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago, and I live in the hills. I'm not in the city limits, so I don't get to vote on a lot of stuff or get to serve on a lot of committees. I was told, well, Hill people don't need to recycle, and Hill people we don't have police up here, so be aware. And I was surprised, but I already had committed to the house. Anyway, I just say there's nothing more important than keeping our children safe, and I feel that we have to pay attention to this. We get lines painted along our roads pretty regularly. We get a lot of things that are nice, but not as important as having good communication for first responders. And actually, just to throw it in, I can't use my cell phone up here. I can't text. And I'm thinking, we're in 2022, and it seems weird because it's a fairly sophisticated city otherwise. So I just want to say I support it as a taxpayer and a sometime voter. Thanks.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate that. What is this? What is this over here? It looks like it's cut off.
Representative Graber, I regret that I am unable to testify in person this morning, but I submitted emailed comments to the board last evening to be entered into public info.
All right, appreciate that. Is there further testimony this morning? Anyone from the room? Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's nice to see folks show up and actually put forth your opinions and give us direction so that we can, as whether it's this issue or any of a myriad of others that we work on, so we get input from every different side. We appreciate that. Okay, is there any additions to the agenda today? That's, again, as I mentioned earlier, will be a bit abbreviated today because our administrator is out sick. Anything, Nancy, on that? Okay, so at this time we'll go ahead and address the May 26, 2022 regular meeting minutes. There were, I couldn't find them in my board packet. To the other board members, Jeff, did you find them in there?
I did not, no.
Okay.
We can table this.
Yeah, I think we better because both Jeff and I didn't get them in the agenda packet, which means the public hasn't seen them as well. And I'm not sure if it's just, or if any of our other board members got them or not, but I have had the chance to review them here in person, but I think we probably should just wait on that.
Okay.
To make sure everyone's had, and maybe we can send out that set of minutes just individually by email to the board members as well. We'll go on to the financial reports. We'll start with the budget variance report. Has everyone had the opportunity to take a look at that? Shelley and Bruce and Rob, you guys had a chance to take a look at that? Jeff, that was in your packet.
Yeah, I've been looking at it again right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I would entertain a motion on the budget variance report for May.
Sorry there, Henry. My chat window was open and kept my space bar from working. I move to approve the budget variance report as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Bruce seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the budget variance report for May as presented. Any discussion? And my only discussion point would be, I didn't notice anything out of whack. It looked pretty good.
Looks good.
Anything on there, Nancy, you want to talk about?
Nope.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries. Now it's time to address our expenditures for the month. Pull that up. And I would entertain a motion on our expenditures for last month. Comments, concerns? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the expenditure report. It's a little difficult when you don't know
Sorry,
if anybody can
I
hear
had a
you.
problem
or not.
getting it opened here. All right, Henry, can you hear me?
Can hear you now, yes.
All right, I move to approve the expenditure report as presented from check number 30822 through 30867, including electronic payments and transfers for a grand total of $260,081.55.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve the expenditure report from check number 30822 through 30867, and the electronic payments as described there, and the total amount of $260,081.55. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
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 And I oppose, same sign, motion carries. Okay. Now it's that time of the year that we need to pass a resolution to adopt our budget, make appropriations, and declaring the levy and categorizing taxes. Nancy, do you want to make any comment on that?
No, resolutions 22.01 through 22.03 are included in your board packets.
Okay. Everybody, I'm sure, has had the opportunity to take a look at those resolutions. Any comments or concerns prior to a motion for Nancy? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those three resolutions as presented.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Shelley made the motion, Jeff seconds, to approve resolution number 22-01, 22-02, and 22-03, which adopts our budget, makes appropriations, and declares the levy and categorizing of taxes. Is there any further discussion? Well, there's a lot of dead air out here today. Hearing none. All in favor signify by aye.
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 And I'm an aye. Is there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay. We can pay the bills after tomorrow.
Yes.
Business mileage rate increase. Nancy, you want to cue that up?
Yes, the federal mileage reimbursement rate increased from 58.5 to 62.5 beginning July 1, and normally our board likes to take action on this.
Okay, and typically we stay with that.
Yes.
I don't know when we've not, but concerns, comments, or a motion on the IRS mileage rate increase?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is that to approve the increase?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a second from Jeff. Thank you, Rob. It's been moved and seconded to follow our standard of practice, which is increase the mileage rate to 62.5, which follows the IRS recommended guidelines on that. Further discussion? I guess at the price of gasoline today, 4 cents a mile is a drop in the bucket. Jeez, oh Friday. Okay, hearing none, all in favor of that signify by aye.
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 And I'm an aye. All opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. Okay. We're going to go ahead and table the operations manager's report, the technical manager's report, any old business, unless we have a representative from the advisory committee here to make any okay, because they were going to be here, but with Mike being sick, I imagine they probably decided to stay home too. We have under new business one item that we do need to address, and that's the contract MOA approval. Nancy, you want to cue that one up too?
Actually, Danelle's going to go ahead.
Okay, Danelle, awesome.
So the association actually had their lawyer approve it this week, and the association voted and approved it as a group. So it's actually gone to our lawyer, and now it's here for the board approval.
Okay, so
It addresses those. It's just putting a hold on negotiations outside of 2 items that were addressed. One was a 5% pay increase, and the other was the health incentive. And then the rest of negotiations would be suspended until 2023.
and the form and everything, of course, of the document was good by our attorney as well.
Yes. And by the association's attorney. Both
Okay.
have had it.
All right. Well, we appreciate them working with us in good faith on that, and I would entertain a motion on an approval of the MOA with the Columbia 911 Dispatchers Association.
I'll move to approve the memorandum of agreement with the bargaining unit.
Is there a second?
That's presented.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the memorandum of agreement between Columbia 911 Communications District and the Columbia 911 Dispatchers Association as presented. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by aye.
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 And I'm an aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. We're going to go ahead and also table, you see under the agenda, the administrator compensation adjustment until Mike is back in action. And we'll, of course, table the director's updates unless, Mike, you wanted to interject anything here before we head towards adjournment. I'm not sure, is he still on? Listening? He can break in anytime he wants. Agenda items for July 28th, 2022. Do we have anything from the board or anything that we want to bring from this meeting to give Nancy to put on next month's agenda? Can always call and email as always. Hearing nothing, we'll go ahead and head into any other business that needs to come before the board from staff.
No.
Okay. With that, we'll go into members' comments. And Jeff, because you're the red-blooded board member in the room.
New kid on the block.
Yeah. Well, many comments.
Well, I appreciate all the comments here. It's definitely an important decision to be made. And I'm gathering as much information as I can. I'd love to hear from this advisory committee. I saw some notes from that meeting the other day. But that's all I have right now.
Well, thank you, Jeff.
Appreciate all the comments. Everybody showing up.
Shelley. Okay, thank you. Bruce?
I have nothing, thank you.
Oh, we got a bunch of people that are just being shy today, I guess. Rob, it's your turn.
Well, you know, first of all, for Mike, I hope you feel better soon. I know I also had COVID a while back ago, and I know that's no fun. For first thing, I want to thank the advisory committee for doing some hard work last month and kind of coming to a consensus on the direction that they wanted to follow. We've been trying to do some information for the advisory committee so all the users could come to a consensus on what they would like to see in the new radio system. And I look forward to that discussion continuing next month. We have some public present. There appears to be a little confusion. I would just like to clarify that we are talking about a radio system only. I hear some discussion talking about safety with previous history in CAD. Just want to point out, nothing is changing with the CAD system. All the records in the computer system are remaining the same for dispatching, so there is no risk or issue of any previous history information being lost with this radio upgrade project. And also, sorry for any technical difficulties on this end from trying to do this remote. There's just not a whole lot of great service here out on the peninsula.
Well, thanks for actually taking the time to Zoom in from vacation, Rob. That was appreciated for sure. Let's see, I guess it's just me. I just want to say thanks to staff. We know how crazy budget time is, and with everything else that goes on with our ongoing radio upgrades and everything, Nathan overseeing that kind of stuff, and staffing shortages and all the stuff that not only us but every agency around seems to be dealing with. We appreciate your hard work and thank you for all of that. I gave Nancy a package here a little while ago, and I was a bit embarrassed by the fact that Columbia County, in commemoration of the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center, had some challenge coins made up specifically for first responders. When we distributed those a few months back, our public information officer brought a bag in and said, "Hey, I'm heading to the 911 district." I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Set them on my desk there. I'll deliver them next time I go to a meeting." And they've been sitting on the desk for a few months. So Nancy has those to distribute to all staff here, which we were just proud to just recognize first responders in general. So, and if you need more, let me know. We'll get them to you. I think there's enough. I think we added in enough for board members as well. With all of that, everybody have a safe summer. We've got the Columbia County Fair coming up in just 3 weeks, and hope the weather cooperates with them out there so that they have a successful fair. But summertime boating, high water, all the stuff. We've got a bunch of hazards going on around here right now just because of the year we have, and but no fires right now. So that's in Columbia County. Yeah, I was just going to say, Chris, don't write that down anywhere that I ever said that. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming. We appreciate your input, and with all of that, we'll go ahead and adjourn.
Henry?
Yes, Rob?
If we are officially adjourned yet, or it can be if we are, just want to confirm July's meeting date.
On the agenda, it's July 28th. Is that
What's that?
July 28th? Is that the correct date for the meeting?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Hang on, Rob. Nancy's checking.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm looking at that in the packet.
Oh,
Just want to make sure that we have a chance to make sure we don't have any conflicts or have to work
It's
around.
the 28th.
July 28th, is that what we said?
Yeah, the 28th looks like the date, Rob, unless there's a reason to change it. I don't know. Haven't heard
I
it.
will be asked at that date.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, if there's other conflicts with that date, we'll have staff deal with that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I need to get